everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for being here for EdTechTeacher's Spring Renewal webinar series. And tonight we are going to be talking about coding in the elementary classroom. My name is Sean O'Neill, and I'm really happy to be here with you tonight. So just a little bit about myself. I am an instructor with EdTechTeacher. I had spent 24 years in the elementary classroom in fourth grade and in first grade. And believe it or not, first grade is where I did all of my coding with my students. So if you are interested in coding at the early elementary level, I have a lot of experience that I can share with you. I am currently a professor at Bridgewater State University here in Massachusetts, where I live, and I teach in both the elementary and the early childhood departments. So I specialize in STEM, math methods, and digital literacy. So feel free to say hello, throw your name in the chat, and let me know where you are watching from. Just a little bit about us here at EdTechTeacher. Since 2008, we have been working to help educators thrive in the modern learning environments. And we know that those environments have changed drastically over the last couple of years. Our vision is to help educators thrive by positioning ourselves as the world's most trusted education partner in technology, training, and services. So we are actually a group of teachers here at EdTechTeacher, current teachers and former teachers, and that's what we love to do. We love to help our fellow teachers in the education fields. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start by talking about the challenges that teachers currently face and some of the challenges that they could be experiencing around coding in the elementary classrooms. So, one of the things we're going to talk about today is how do teachers find the time and the resources to teach coding in their elementary classrooms? So, we're going to address that today. How can teachers with little experience with or knowledge of coding feel comfortable teaching it to our students? I think sometimes when you hear the word coding or when teachers hear the word coding, they automatically think of JavaScript and Python and those kind of crazy coding that older students do and that they do at the higher ed level. And that's not what it is at all. It's actually really, really fun and really easy to implement in your classroom. And the last challenge is, isn't coding just for older students? And as you probably have already guessed, no, it is not. Even our youngest learners, even our kindergartners, and even our pre-K students can begin to learn the basics of coding. So those are the challenges that we face. And now we're going to talk about some of the solutions. So before we do that, this is one of my favorite graphics. This is by Sylvia Duckworth, and this is really addressing why students should learn to code. So these are the 10 reasons to teach coding. So coding allows students to create content, not just consume it. And we know that over the last couple of years, our youngest learners all the way through college have consumed a ton of content. The pandemic forced us all to go online and to all become digital learners. So number 2, coding empowers students and gives them tools to express themselves in really cool ways. Coding teaches storytelling with games and animation. And I'm going to show you some really great tools that you can use to build upon those skills. Coding is a place for students to take risks and fail safely. And I've seen that firsthand. Our students these days are afraid to make mistakes, which oftentimes means they're afraid to take a risk and they're afraid to be creative. Coding is a spot where they can do that. Coding is inclusive and builds confidence. Absolutely. I always had classrooms with students who were on IEPs. I always had classrooms where I had students who were just beginning to learn the English language. And the beautiful thing about coding is that it made my classroom such an incredibly equitable space because all of my students, whether they had learning challenges or whether they had language challenges, they were all able to participate in coding and they loved it. Coding supports many principles of mathematics. Coding teaches problem solving and critical and analytical thinking skills. And the best part is that it does all of this while students think they're playing a game. So, coding is a new type of literacy and will be a large part of future jobs. Coding develops teamwork and collaboration skills, which is something that our students really do need to continue practicing. And coding can help humanity. And the bonus is that coding gives you superpowers. So, this is one of my favorite graphics. So, here's a fantastic quote. This is if we want to set our children up for academic success, every child should learn to code. Coding for kids not only helps improve their mathematics and writing skills, but it also gives them valuable skills in life and eventually in the workforce. Some of you might be thinking, well, how does it improve writing skills? And I can tell you that when students learn to code, what they're actually learning how to do is sequence. So that really does carry over into writing when we're having our students write a story where they need to sequence things, where they are writing a how to essay. It really does build nicely upon each other. So, and here's one more. Teaching kids coding is about developing computational thinking. It is not about fancy robots or technology. And I love that quote because a lot of the things that I'm going to show you today are screen free. And I actually have some things to show you today to strengthen coding skills that are actual board games that have nothing to do really with technology or robots at all. All right. So we know what the challenges are. How do we start this? And how do we incorporate this if we ourselves as teachers aren't comfortable with coding or if we don't know how to code? So here are the solutions that we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about introducing coding through read alouds. We're going to be talking about two coding websites in particular, although there are countless more, but I'm going to tell you about my two favorites. Maybe you can check them out. We are going to talk about some very wonderful and very simple coding robots that kids can use in the classroom. And then we are going to talk about some coding board games. So, taking that technology and the robot piece right out of it, if that's what we want to do. So, one of the ways that I have always introduced coding in the elementary grades, especially to my first graders, was through read alouds. And there are dozens and dozens of wonderful read alouds out there for all ages. One of the ones that I always started with was the first one you see down below on the left hand side, How to Code a Sandcastle. I loved this book because it began in really simple terms, talking about how coding was the language of computers. And then it really broke it down into how to code a sandcastle. So it drew upon something that many, if not most, students know about, which is building a sandcastle. And it talked about how if you wanted to code a robot to actually build a sandcastle, what you would have to do. The follow up for that book is on the opposite side, on the right side of the screen, How to Code a Roller Coaster. You can see we have a really younger level elementary book at the top called I Can Code If Then, and there are more books in that series as well. And then there is an awesome book underneath called Dolly 1.0, and you can see that she is plugging her doll into her computer and she is going to program and code her doll. So I love that book. I also love that it has a young girl as the main character because that's one thing that we really need to do. We need to get our young female students into this as well. All right. So once you have introduced coding and your students understand kind of what that means and that coding is the language that computers and robots use, then it's time to introduce them to some actual coding. And you can do that in a variety of ways. Two of, I would arguably say the biggest coding websites out there are Code.org and Scratch Junior. So you've probably heard of those. Today I'm going to talk to you quickly about Code.org, and then I'm actually going to talk to you more about Scratch Junior, since Scratch Junior is for ages 8 and below, whereas Scratch is for ages 8 and up. But even though we're just going to talk about those two websites today, as I said, there are hundreds more out there. I just love these two because they are free. They are very user friendly. They have characters that your children or your students have probably seen before, and they really allow students to start at a basic level and work their way up. All right, so here is just code.org. And you can try that out. It's really simple, it's really fun, and it is really addictive. Code.org is very engaging and user friendly. They have licenses with many different for many different characters. So students will see characters that they're familiar with from movies. They will see characters from the movie Bad Guys. They will see characters from Frozen. They will see characters from Star Wars. So it's a great buy-in for students when they're already familiar with the characters that they are learning how to code. So again, code.org allows students to progress with their skills. So it starts them off at a real basic level with basic skills. And as they get more comfortable with their skills, they can progress through the different programs in code.org. There are lessons for elementary students all the way through high school students as well as for teachers. So that's one of my favorite things about code.org is that I could learn before I even taught my students. And it teaches students the basics such as running code and compiling and using avatars. And like I said, a lot of times those avatars are characters that the students or your children will already know and be familiar with. So that's a wonderful buy-in for our students. Then we have Scratch and Scratch Junior. Now, Scratch was the original program. Scratch was created for students ages 8 and up. But I'm going to talk to you about Scratch Junior since for this webinar, we're going to be talking about coding in the elementary classroom. Scratch Junior, which it's a little tricky to find, or it can be. If you want to access Scratch Junior on the website, you're going to go to the Scratch website and you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to see a little icon at the bottom for Scratch Junior. So Scratch Junior allows students to create their own interactive stories and games. It's block style coding, so it does involve a minimal reading level, but block style coding is when students snap together blocks that give directions that they then can program their characters to do. So Scratch Junior is wonderful because it is a free app. So you can put it on iPads, Android tablets, or Chromebooks. So students will be able to access this in most classrooms. And as I said earlier, it is a natural progression from Scratch Junior to Scratch. And Scratch is ages 8 and up. But if you are just introducing coding in your classroom, I always recommend starting with Scratch Junior. All right, so we're going to take a couple minutes and we're going to switch gears from coding websites and we're going to talk about coding robots that you might want to incorporate in your classroom. We're actually going to start with my favorite one, and that is Code and Go Mouse. So let's take a look at Code and Go Mouse. So here we have a picture of Code and Go Mouse. Here he is right here. He actually comes with a name. His name is Colby, so after the cheese. And you can see right in here, right in the back behind at the far side of the screen, you can see the piece of cheese. Uh, Colby for Code and Go Mouse is available for ages 4 and older. It runs on batteries. It's screen-free coding. Students can program this battery-powered mouse to complete the mazes. And if you look on the picture, you can see a maze card. And Code and Go Mouse, the set, actually comes with all of those green tiles that snap together to form mazes. So your students can either build the mazes from the provided cards, or they can use their imagination and they can create on their own. Code and Go Mouse will also work on a floor or a tabletop, so it doesn't necessarily even need to use the tiles. You can probably see from the picture, but there are 4 directional buttons on Code and Go Mouse, which makes it really, really easy for students to program it. They don't need to be able to read, and all they need to be able to do is program forward, backwards, right, and left. So it's a very simple design and it is very easy for students to use. It is also one of the more cost-effective coding robots that I've found. which is another reason why I always really liked using it in my classroom. But once your students are comfortable with it, you will find that they are excited to create their own mazes and their own obstacle courses for Colby the mouse to run through and for them to program. And it's a wonderful way to get students excited and begin to code. All right. The next coding robot I'm going to show you are BeeBots. And you can see this in the picture as well. They really look like little bees. They are absolutely adorable. Just like Code and Go Mouse, this can be used with pre-K students from ages 3 up. Because as you can probably see in the picture, much like Code and Go Mouse, there are just 4 direction buttons on the back of the BeeBot. So again, students do not need to know how to read in order to program the BeeBot. And then there are the buttons at the top for a button to clear the code and a button to run the code. So again, this is a screen-free robot, so students do not need to be hooked up to an iPad or any other form of technology for this. The BeeBots come with mats, as you can see, and these mats, these are laminated mats, and they are broken up into squares. So what you can actually have students do is program the BeeBots to get from one square to the other. So it also teaches students about coordinate grids and about sequencing at the same time. So there are all kinds of different mats that you can use. So there are mats with math problems on there. For my pre-K and my kindergarten teachers, there are alphabet mats. There are lowercase and uppercase. There are mats with CVC, consonant, vowel, consonant words that you can program the BeeBot to go to. There are mats that look like hopscotch grids with numbers. So you can do math problems, simple math fluency problems, and code the bee to get to the correct answer. And then there are uh, giant blank maps with a clear screen on top that you can lift up and put your own cards underneath. So if you are learning about retelling a story, if you are learning about sequencing the steps to a writing essay, you can actually put cards right underneath the clear BeeBot mat and really personalize that learning to what you're doing in your classroom. The BeeBots are rechargeable. They have rechargeable batteries, and they also have a USB cable, so you can plug these in to recharge them. And they have a little bit longer life because of that than the Code and Go mouse. What's wonderful about the BeeBots is that they can carry out over 200 consecutive commands. I personally have never done that, but it is nice because it allows students to start by maybe at first only programming their BeeBot to move 2 spaces, but eventually they can code it to carry out as many as 200 commands. And as I had mentioned, there are many different mats with different learning activities that are available. Cubetto is an adorable coding robot that I've used in my classroom myself. Again, it is for ages 3 and up. And once again, it is a screen-free coding robot. Cubetto comes with 3 main pieces. It is that adorable little wooden cube that you see that the child is touching, but Cubetto is actually programmed through a control board, which you can see lying on the mat. It's that board with the blue edges. And what students will do is they will place tiles, and you can see the red and the green and the blue tiles. Each of those tiles stands for a direction. Students actually place the tiles into the board, the control board, and then there is a run button to run the code. And then through Bluetooth, that code is sent to that adorable little cube, that's Cubetto, and Cubetto will carry out the command. Much like the BeeBots, Cubetto comes with a very large fabric mat that is set up as a coordinate grid with different patterns, different landmarks on it. And it comes with a storybook as well. So that allows you to code Cubetto and have your students code Cubetto to get to different places on that mat. So it is a really simple design and it is really, really easy for students to use. And it's very, very cute. All right, the last robot, many of you might have seen before. This is Dash and Dot. And Dash is actually that big guy, and Dot is his little sidekick. Dot doesn't do too much. Mainly, you're probably going to want to invest in Dash and work with Dash. So, Dash is designed for ages 5 and up. And this is a robot that you will control through your device. So it does need a screen to be able to control it. So Dash is fully programmable. Dash can drive in any direction. Dash can make dozens and dozens of sounds, from beeps and songs to sounding like all kinds of animals to sounding like alarms. It's really a riot. There's also a button where you can code Dash to record your own voice and repeat things back to you. Dash can change colors. Dash can move his head. He's really adorable, and the voice is very, very cute. There are at least 5 different apps that students can progress through when they are learning to code Dash. So it's wonderful because it starts off with a Blockly app, which again requires very minimal reading, and they're blocks that students drag and then snap together to run the program. Dash can come with a variety of activity cards for ideas, or students can just use their imagination. I've had my students take painter's tape and draw out mazes on the floor with painter's tape and then code Dash to get from one side to the other. It's really fun, and students really, really like it. So, let's say you want to kind of put that technology aside. You're not sure you want to invest in any robots. You're not sure you want to do that, any more screen time. There are very wonderful coding board games out there that you can also use. So today I'm going to review 3 of those with you that I really, really like. Again, there are hundreds more out there, as well as coding games that you can just do on paper. But here are 3 that I really like. My favorite, I'm going to show you first. This is Code Hopper. Code Hopper is for ages 3 plus. Again, it is screen free. What it is it's 12 two-sided mats, and they're those foam mats. And you can see from the picture that they snap together, right? They're foam because you're walking on them, so you want them to be comfortable. There are commands on both sides of the code. So it's a real simple way to play. So students will think they're playing, but what you're actually doing is you're teaching them the concepts of sequencing and algorithmic thinking. So it really is just a fun way to get students into coding without using any robots or screens. All right, the next game, this one's really fun. This is called Robot Turtles. Robot Turtles is for ages 4 plus. This is a board game that teaches students the fundamentals of programming. And the interesting thing about this is Robot Turtles was actually on Kickstarter, where it became the best-selling board game of all time. So if you're looking for something fun to do in your classroom, if you're looking for something fun to do at home, I definitely recommend Robot Turtles. And the last one I'm going to show you is Code Monkey Island. So this one is for a little bit older students. This is for about ages 8 and older. Of course, younger students could play it with some adult assistance. So this might not be something you necessarily want to use in a lower elementary classroom. Maybe it's something you want to use for older students. But again, this is a board game that teaches those fundamental programming skills. It teaches things like control structures, data structures, logic operators. And again, it has students practicing those mathematical operations, the sequencing, the algebraic thinking, all of those wonderful skills. And here is another graphic from Carly and Adam about all of the wonderful things that coding can teach our kids, just to start to wrap this up. So, perseverance. So, your students are going to code something and it's not going to work. And that's okay. And it's funny, students don't mind taking a risk, and they don't mind when their code doesn't work. All they do is clear the code, they go back, they try again. So, it teaches them that perseverance and how to really stick to it. Teaches the critical thinking and those risk-taking skills we talked about, storytelling and retelling, problem solving, creativity, math processes, self-confidence, and my absolute favorite, which is teamwork, because these students work together. And it's a wonderful thing to watch all of the students in your classroom be involved in an activity and be excited about it and be able to access that activity at their own level and really be successful at it. All right, so here is our call to action as we wind up tonight. So, the first thing you can do is access tonight's slideshow. So, if you want to copy down that bit.ly link, that is right there for you, and that will give you access to the slideshow. So, if you leave tonight and you're thinking, oh, I wish I had thought to remember to write down some of those games or some of those robots or some of those programs, well, here you go. You can have access to the entire slideshow through that bit.ly link. Another thing you can do is attend our upcoming events. We here at EdTechTeacher have even more spring renewal webinars coming up. We have an amazing summer program opportunity that I'm going to talk to you about in just a minute. And we offer trainings all the time for whatever needs you or your students or your district have. And the third thing is hire us. Easy as that. Call us or email us. We are here to help you and your school and your district, and we can help you in a variety of ways. Whatever you're looking for as far as technology goes and integrating technology, we really are here to help you. And we love doing that. We love working with teachers. We love working with classrooms and school districts. So please feel free to reach out. Our email address is right there as well. All right. And one thing I want to tell you about that is so exciting is this summer, EdTechTeacher is actually offering a 2003 summer learning pass. So, what that is it gives an all access pass for the low price of $195. You get access to all 13 of our workshops. And you can see the workshops all listed on the right-hand side. Those are the 12. And then recently we added a bonus workshop all about AI and ChatGPT, which is just taking the world by storm. ChatGPT is amazing. So the way that the summer pass works is for the price of $195, you actually get access to all 12 workshops. They span over 6 weeks. You can join live or you can watch them later. So even if you're only interested in 2 or 3 summer workshops to join live, you still get access and all of the materials that go along with all 13 workshops. So it really is a wonderful opportunity. So the website is down below, edtechteacher.org/summer to learn more about it, or you can just hop on our website. But it really is a wonderful learning opportunity. And again, please feel free to reach out to us at any time at edtechteacher.org. We are here to help you. All of our information is there on the screen. And I would just like to thank you for sticking with me today and learning a little bit more about how to incorporate coding in your elementary classroom. Hope to see you all again soon. Bye bye.